We will close public session and move to our next agenda item, which is first on the list is the president's report. Typically, my president's report is relatively short. It will be short today, but I do have a few more things to update the board on and some important issues. So I'll take a little bit more time today. There's been a request of the Board of Governors to more timely submit materials in advance of this meeting. There's a lot, as all of you know, there's a lot of materials to digest and read, hundreds and hundreds of pages. And it would be helpful for all of us, I think, to submit those materials at least 1 week in advance, if not earlier. Some emergency situations that might not be possible where we receive things within that week, but that should be rare. So I would encourage everyone to try to get the materials in at least a week prior, and the Board of Governors at some point may want to even think about a hard and fast deadline of 1 week before, and then what that means for purposes of considering materials that come later. But that might be a discussion topic for later. But I want to encourage timely submission of materials for everyone. Earlier this week, we received the order from the Supreme Court alerting us and the Supreme Court that they will be mandating vaccines for all of their employees, including volunteers, and then specifically strongly encouraging the Washington State Bar Association to adopt similar measures. So that is something that we take very seriously, especially given the situation with COVID-19 and the Delta variant that continues to rise all across our state and the country. We're working with Executive Director Nevitt to explore what that means for our employees and for our volunteers, and how best to see if we can do the same measures that the Supreme Court has done and the governor with government workers. So I bring that to your attention. I imagine we may want to talk further about that as well. This past month, Executive Director Nevitt and I and others have participated in the listening tour this year due to the COVID virus for the first part of the summer. So we're trying to squeeze in as many stops. You'll recall that the listening tour is traditionally a opportunity for the president and the executive director and governors to meet with members of the organization throughout the state. I find it very enjoyable. We've had very good conversations with people that I would not have otherwise met. I was talking with Governor Dresden today about encouraging all governors to come, whether it's your district or not. I would invite you to come and attend some of these discussions and have lunch with your colleagues from around the state, and maybe even more importantly, with people from outside your district. It's fascinating to talk with people from rural areas that are different from where I practice, but they have different concerns, different issues, and it's wonderful to learn about those and get to know your fellow members. We're planning on some additional dates in Eastern Washington. As soon as we have those dates, we will send them all out to all of the governors. And like I said, I encourage you to take some traveling to attend one or more of these. I think it's a good investment of your time and energy to do so. So I recommend that to you. This last month, we had meetings in Everett and Port Orchard that I was not able to attend, but I understand that President-elect Tollefson attended one of those, and Governor Pertzer attended the other in my stead. We also visited Coopville, Mount Vernon, and then earlier this week in South Bend, Washington, and Shelton. Executive Director Nevitt, during her report, is going to talk a little bit about her observations. I found the discussions fascinating, particularly the South Bend and Shelton visits, where we've talked about rural practice areas and desert areas for legal deserts. And some folks, like in South Bend, don't feel like they're a legal desert, although they have a very few attorneys, and they have trouble recruiting attorneys to work for law firms and prosecutor's office. But they also don't see it as a access to justice issue either. One of the, I think Judge Penoyer, who attended, mentioned that people come together when there's access to justice issues, and somebody in the community inevitably helps when there's a need. And so that was very encouraging to hear. Less encouraging is the efforts and sometimes failures to get people to move to rural areas. And we have a STAR committee, small town and rural practice area, that was just created earlier this year. I hope that that committee will look into some of those issues, reach out to the folks that we've met, and discuss further on how we can strengthen those communities and the legal access for our members. One of the things, another discussion topic that was repeated, and another discussion topic I think that we should explore further, is the job postings. I understand that we have a job posting website, and that it costs quite a bit of money for folks to post. I know that there's some exceptions. I think we should take a close look at that for small communities, sole practitioners, perhaps the government, and other entities, and on a challenge to pay issue perhaps, and see if we can't do some things to allow folks with limited income to post jobs on a reduced fee. I do understand that we generate quite a bit of money in support of the Bar Association from that job postings. So we want to be careful about that as well, making sure that we're continuing to offer the membership services that we do. And we don't want to, we'll need to look at our budget to see if we can make that happen and efficient, but it was, and it has been something that's popped up from time to time. And I think many of us around the table would be interested in further discussing it. Earlier this month, I attended the funeral of Jim Sloan. He was a long-term city attorney in Spokane, figure in that community. I've known him for perhaps 30 years. Sad time, but it was made me happy to see that all of the people who came together to celebrate his life were much more than what was anticipated by the family or myself. And so I was glad I had the opportunity to do that. I think that is all of my report. I'm going to turn it, any questions, comments, concerns about the president's report? Governor Peterson.
Yeah, I would just hope, and I know we've talked about this before, but I guess we had hoped that all the feedback we're getting at these various meetings across the state, that the feedback's getting coordinated and maybe put in a place where all of us can have access to it. I guess my concern is always that we go out and listen, nobody actually knows what people said, and obviously nothing gets done. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Okay. Thank you, Governor Peterson and Rex, for the reminder. I did notice during our stops that Executive Director Nevitt was taking copious notes. And so I think we can make that happen and available. And again, I encourage you to attend directly to and ask your questions of these members as well. It's a listening tour. I've started these with a short presentation and an update on what we're doing to generate discussion. But each one of them have evolved into a conversation, which has been wonderful, an exchange of ideas. And like I said, I enjoy doing them, and I hope we can get a few more done before my term is over. All right, I'm not seeing any other hands.